Hello everyone, my name's JoshJrumJrastic and welcome to another Lazy Masquerade video. Today's video is called 4 Creepy Unsolved Mysteries That Belong on X-Files. Sounds pretty interesting to me. Hope it's pretty interesting to you. Today's video is 25 minutes long. My water's over there. I just got back from work. It is 7:14 right now, so hopefully you enjoy this video, and if you do, consider leaving a like on the video. It'd be much appreciated. And if you're new here, hi, I'm Josh, and this is what I do. I react to videos, and sometimes I play video games, so if you enjoy that kind of content, consider subscribing and sharing my videos with friends so that may grow and we can all watch and play some awesome videos and video games together. If you have any suggestions of any videos you'd like me to watch, go down in my comments below and leave me the link or title to the video, and I'll get back to you as soon as I possibly can. Anyways, on with the video. I got nothing else to say. Let's go. I don't know what X-Files is, so, but apparently these things belong on there. So we'll see what that means.
Today's video is sponsored by Shudder.
Oh yeah.
Shudder is the world's premier streaming service for horror, thriller, and supernatural movies and series. You could call it shudder.com and use promo code Masquerade to start your free month of spookiness.
I don't want that, so I'm good.
So I usually don't cover otherworldly cases in my videos, but since I found a few hidden gems recently, I thought it might be fun to examine a few mysteries that have a sort of X-Files type vibe to them. I always try and stay away from outlandish mysteries, so I've only selected ones that have multiple witnesses, and that have been thoroughly scientifically analysed.
Is X-Files that alien stuff?
And so, they still remain unanswered.
I feel like X-Files is that
But that's not to say
alien
the truth isn't out there somewhere.
stuff. Those
With all that
alien
said,
mysteries.
let's get into the first one.
I don't know. My hair's a mess.
Let's take a trip in both geography and time, and examine a truly bizarre incident.
Okay.
Evora, Portugal, 2nd of November, 1959. From his headmaster's office at a local college, Dr. Guides do Amaral noticed something strange, just floating far off in the sky outside his window. It was a bright blue, cloudless day, and this seemingly metallic sphere that was just hovering in the sky was completely out of place. And then again, his old eyes weren't as sharp as they once were, so, along with some other teachers, he set up a telescope in the courtyard and took a more magnified look at the thing.
Lovely.
As he examined it, he could hardly believe what he was seeing.
What?
There, in the sky, was a whitish blue, shimmering object, moving in a completely unnatural way.
Okay.
It would hover in place for long periods, and then zip in a random direction at what Dr. Amaral described as a speed that defied the laws of physics. He knew this definitely wasn't a bird or a plane. It had no wings or propellers to speak of, just a metallic orb suspended in space. As they were observing it, it vanished into thin air. Then, without warning, and seemingly out of nowhere, another, much larger flying object appeared above them. It was physically similar to the first, apart from the fact that it was several times bigger and comprised of 2 spheres instead of 1.
Oh, cool.
The top sphere was solid, but the one beneath it moved in a wavy, jellyfish-like motion.
That's pretty
This
dope.
one too would just hover in place before moving at a ridiculously quick pace somewhere else. Occasionally it dropped altitude, only to shoot back up into the sky at record-breaking speed, going so high as to almost disappear from their view.
You said there was...
Dr. Amaral asked his nearby co-workers and students to look through his telescope and confirm that he wasn't going senile.
You said there was proof or something? I'm not entirely sure what he's talking about.
They too couldn't believe their eyes. Nor could the hundreds of other witnesses across town, who also saw the oscillating object above them.
The oscillating?
After approximately 30 minutes of loitering, the unidentified flying object silently sped off and disappeared.
I mean, he did say like a jellyfish, so...
The astonishment of the town's residents soon turned to unease, when a strange, cobweb-like substance started falling from the sky down upon them. Long strands of this white, stringy material rained down and formed in large clumps on the ground and rooftops. This still unidentified substance would later become known as angel hair rain.
No, definitely not.
Dr. Amaral and his students examined the falling angel hair. At first, they theorized that it must be the work of some breed of flying spider dropping silky webs from above. Such things are exceptionally common in Australia and New Zealand, though admittedly very rare in Europe. Still, that didn't seem to make much sense.
Whoa.
There's no way a whole army of spiders could have produced this much webbing, and there weren't any pesky arachnids visible anywhere. Dr. Amaral and his students tried to pick up some of the strange substance, only to realize that the hairs melted in their warm hands. During the 4 hours that it fell over the small provincial town, Dr. Amaral was able to scoop up a small clump of the white filaments into a petri dish. 62 miles away, a team of fighter pilots were preparing for takeoff at Portugal's Sintra airbase.
Is that it?
Several of the pilots,
That's some weird
including
stuff,
Captain
dude.
Thomas Silva, noticed a strange, slimy substance forming on their canopies.
Ugh.
It was the same
What if
white
it's
filaments
like
that were falling over
alien
Evora,
babies?
collecting on their jets like snow in winter.
What if it's like alien, like, you know
After
what
washing
I'm,
off
you
the
know what I'm
substance and finishing
thinking.
their mission,
You know what
Captain
I'm
Thomas
thinking,
Silva called his
guys.
father,
What
Admiral
if it's
Conceição Silva,
what if it's like
an
that?
enthusiastic amateur physicist and astronomer,
Ew.
and asked him for his opinion on what the substance could be.
That's what I'm thinking it is.
Stumped, Admiral Silva himself called up his friend in
It's
Evora.
some gross stuff is what
That
it
friend just so happened to be Dr. Amaral. Amaral said that the same substance had just fallen over his town too.
Oh. Go away!
2020, that's it.
Stop it.
They realized
I'm not
this must be a
editing this.
nationwide
It's like
incident. And when
7
Amaral said that he had
o'clock in the
successfully
morning,
collected
I
a
gotta go
sample,
to bed
the
in
two scientists
30
quickly
minutes.
agreed to meet and examine it together. After magnifying the angel hair 120 times, both Amaral and Silva
120
noticed something
times?
bizarre. There was
What?
a living organism under their microscope.
I knew it!
On the hair was a 1 millimeter wide, yellow, unicellular creature with 10 slime-covered tentacles that expanded and moved.
Ew!
The thing's legs were so strong that they could actually lift up the slides that the creature was framed between slightly. It demonstrated defensive mechanisms like that of an animal. Neither of them had ever seen anything like this before in their professional careers. The only known animals to have a similar structure to the microscopic creature were certain types of jellyfish. Okay, so maybe this was some type of rare jellyfish from the deep ocean, but that doesn't explain how so many of them started falling from the sky on stringy cobwebs. Some scientists warily started speculating that the creatures could have come from a neighboring planet or from Earth's extra-atmospheric space. Others believed that the hair-like strands were vaporized meteor fragments. Given the time period, some speculated that this had something to do with a Cold War gas test. Again, given the time period, the Portuguese government was extremely authoritarian and nationalistic.
I think it was something biological.
The doctor's research was
more
deemed to
like
be against God, and any effort to publish his findings were thwarted.
some kind of
Dr. Amaral tried to translate his
version
research
of
and publish it internationally, but when he tried to do so, he was
jellyfish.
threatened with suspension. Both he and Admiral Silva were publicly shamed to the point where they both gave up trying to get others on board with their discovery. Unable to proceed with his research and feeling out of his depth, Dr. Amaral handed over the preserved specimens to the University of Lisbon, where they were further analysed. Still, Amaral himself never gave up looking into the angel hair and organism, and when he passed away in the 1990s, he left behind his large amount of research. He had collected hundreds of testimonials from other people who had seen the flying objects that morning in November, and in each case, the witnesses said that their sightings were followed by angel hair falling from the sky. He'd also learned that this so-called angel hair rain had been observed at several other points in history. 1561 in Germany, 1917 again in Portugal, 1898 in Montgomery, USA, 1952 in France, and 1954 in Italy.
There's
Still,
a lot of
it's unclear
Montgomerys,
whether
not
those
gonna
incidents
lie.
were the exact same as this. In 2008,
We have a
an
s-
expert
no,
cell
we don't. We
biologist
don't
was
have a state
contacted
called
to examine
Montgomery.
Dr. Amaral's photos
Do
of
we?
the unknown creature found
No,
on
we
the webs.
don't.
The expert wrote, "This structure, or
Are they talking
microorganism,
about
as
a
some have
city?
called
That's a
it,
very
is still
specific
unknown to
city.
contemporary science. I was unable to identify a single
Montgomery?
structure akin to an earthly
No.
single-cell organism." So, there we have it. Surely the fact that the angel hair coincided with the appearance of the flying objects couldn't have been a coincidence.
No, I don't think.
Then again, could there be a
I'm
far
still
more
stuck
rational
on the-
explanation for this mystery than just aliens? Of course.
Yeah, that's X.
Like many scientists have noted, the structure of the creatures on the hair is extremely similar to young, microscopic jellyfish.
That's what I think it is.
How they came to fall from the sky is anyone's guess though.
It's
Perhaps they were scooped up in a whirlwind. Still, that doesn't account for the flying objects themselves, which were seen by hundreds of people just before the hair fell.
picked
Were
up
they
by
military in origin? Civilian?
a giant
Or
storm
something more
over
otherworldly?
the ocean.
Sadly, we may never hear more from this case
really
due to
high
the
up
sad
into
fact
the
that the
air,
labs at the University
then
of Lisbon burned down
was
in the late 1970s, taking the original
thrown
samples
all the way
Dr. Amaral
over
had collected with them.
via
The
strong
only other
winds.
sample
I
that may
don't know,
exist was
man.
taken by a group of independent researchers and has since mysteriously vanished. A huge shout out to Reddit user LucyCat Writes for their amazing overview of this case on the Unresolved Mysteries subreddit. Link to that write-up in the bio.
Oh,
Now,
so you got
on
this
to number
from
2.
Reddit. Nice.
My husband left me for another woman.
Yeah.
My small side business failed, and I got fired in the same week in 2018.
Yeah.
I got into a huge
Okay. I don't care, woman.
So
I
that
don't
first
care
case
who
was
you
weird,
are, and
sure,
I don't know.
but
who
this
you
is
are
where
either.
things get dark.
Oh, I know
Now,
this
I'm sure
one.
most of you are familiar with the Dyatlov Pass
Yes,
incident, a favourite of horror fans on YouTube.
Yes.
What you may not have heard, though, is the equally disturbing and still unexplained Khamar-Daban Pass incident,
I have
sometimes
heard of that one
called
too.
the Buryatia Dyatlov Pass.
I've heard of that one.
On August 5th, 1993, a team of mountaineers were trekking through the Khamar-Daban mountain range in Siberia.
Yep.
The expedition was made up of 7 people and was headed by Ludmila Korovina,
Yes,
a
it
seasoned
was.
hiker with tons of experience.
Yes, she was.
Joining her were 24-year-old Tatiana
Yep, they were all
Filipenko,
kids.
Denis Vachin, Vika
And it
Zalasova,
is messed up
Babanov,
what happened to them.
Valia Utachenko, and 23-year-old
I'm just gonna let it
Sasha
play
Krisin,
because
who
it's
Ludmila had
actually
effectively raised
freaking
and brought up
creepy
as her
what
own son.
happened to them.
The young group set off on the morning of the 2nd,
Look at
as
how
did several
happy
other
they
hiking
are.
groups in the area. Unfortunately, although good weather was predicted, the team were blasted with freezing cold rain and snow.
Yeah, whatever.
This didn't dissuade them from continuing, however. Like I said, the group was young and eager to prove themselves to Ludmila, whom they all looked up to. Ludmila didn't go easy on them either, and along the way made some questionable decisions.
Not really.
On the night of the 4th, for instance, she had the group set up their camp on a slope about 4 kilometers away from the nearest forest.
That was the questionable decision.
There was a thunderstorm raging that night,
Yep.
and this area was completely unprotected from the elements.
Yep.
Given her mountains of experience in, well, mountaineering, you'd have thought she would have chosen to camp elsewhere.
No.
The next morning, it happened. As the group packed up their
It's
things
happened.
and descended down the mountain, Sasha suddenly began bleeding heavily from his nose, ears, and mouth.
Yep.
He fell to the ground
Yep.
and was dead within
It
moments.
just died.
This happened so suddenly that everyone else was left dumbfounded. Sasha was strong, healthy, and
Yeah.
hadn't complained of any pain up until that moment. What had just happened? Most distraught was Ludmila herself. Like I said, Sasha was like a son to her. She ordered everyone else down the mountain,
Yep.
while she stayed with the body.
Yep. And
They followed her
then
instruction and started walking. No more than a minute later, however, they heard Ludmila shouting to them for help,
Yep.
saying that she couldn't move. They rushed back to see what was wrong with her, only to find their leader sprawled out on the ground
Bleeding,
beside Sasha,
bleeding,
blood gushing out of her face.
dead.
The rest of the group were horrified.
What?
2 of their team, who were apparently healthy that morning, had just perished in front of them in the blink of an eye.
Yeah.
They started to panic, terrified that the same thing was about to happen to them.
And it does.
Well, it did. Valia Utachenko, the group's only survivor, explained what happened next.
Oh God.
Moments after discovering Ludmila's body, Timur and Vika began tearing at their clothes,
Yep.
fell to the ground,
Yep.
and started twitching and foaming from the mouth.
Yep.
In Valia's words, Dennis began to hide behind the rocks and run away.
Yep.
Tatiana was banging her head against the stones.
Yep.
Vika and Timur probably went mad. Valia tried to help Vika, the youngest female in the group, but when she did, the girl bit her. Dennis and Valia
Bit
were the
her.
only 2 group members still unaffected by whatever was happening. They both began to run at full speed down the mountain. Dennis told Valia to take out the essential items from her bag, abandon the rest, and run as fast as she could. She started rifling through her belongings, but by the time she looked back up at Dennis, he was lying on the ground, bleeding from every orifice.
Yep.
Alone and terrified, she sprinted off. Now, without any provisions, and still far from civilization,
Yeah.
she was forced to sleep alone in the forest at the bottom of the mountain, all through the freezing night.
After seeing
The next
that,
morning, Valia made her way back up the slope to look
Are
for
you
survivors,
kidding
and came
me?
upon a scene of pure carnage.
yeah,
All of her young co-hikers were dead.
she went back to it.
For 3 days, the 17-year-old wandered through the mountain pass alone in hopes
Yeah.
of being rescued. She tried following electric cables, but they only led her to an abandoned village. Her mind had been shattered by what she had witnessed.
Yeah.
Eventually, she made it back to civilization, but at first was too traumatized to tell anyone what had happened. Still, when she came back alone, a search and rescue operation was immediately launched for the other group members. Their bodies wouldn't be found for another month, by which point animals had already started devouring them. What the rescuers could tell was that the figures in the snow were contorted and their faces were twisted in pain. It was a scary picture, said one of the rescue team. The hikers were lying on a small ledge, some huddled together, some a little distance away. They had no eyes. In the empty sockets and parted mouths, worms were crawling. We packed the bodies in plastic bags. When they flew to Ulan-Ude, the smell in the helicopter was impossible. Some of the men were sick. To this day, we still don't know what strange phenomenon claimed the lives of 6 of those 7 hikers.
Have no idea.
Autopsies confirmed that they were all otherwise healthy,
Yeah.
but there was bruising in all of their lungs. Could this have all been the result of some strange sickness? Some sort of poisoning?
Yes.
Hypothermia, perhaps?
No.
Or did they stumble into a secret test site for nerve agents?
Yes.
What's strange is that there were numerous other hiking groups in the same area, yet none of them were affected by whatever killed the values.
It makes no sense.
There's a lot of debate online about this, but as of right now, no definitive conclusion.
I have no idea. I have no idea what in the world happened to him.
What is this place?
I've already seen this movie. It's a pretty good movie.
Improved.
It's an alright movie. Could have used better
The
graphics,
disappearance of
but
Fred Valentich is a
alright.
case that has long been shrouded in mystery.
Who?
Fred was a 20-year-old Australian pilot who went missing back in 1978 during a training flight to King Island over Bass Strait. At 7:06 p.m. on October 21st,
How do
he
you go
radioed air
missing
traffic
there?
control, telling them that another unidentified aircraft was flying about 300 meters above his, and that it
Wow.
appeared to be following him. Strange, they replied. There wasn't supposed to be any traffic at that altitude. Fred told them that he thought this other pilot was toying with him, racing off and approaching at high speed, and then, quote-unquote, orbiting above him. He also said that he was starting to have engine problems. One thing Fred could make out was that this other aircraft was very large, had a metallic surface, and was illuminated by 4 bright green lights on its underside. Air traffic control then asked him to identify what type of aircraft it was. Fred paused before replying, "It's not an aircraft." Immediately after that, his transmission was interrupted by a strange metallic noise, and then cut out completely.
I actually know this one, I think.
Despite an extensive search and rescue effort, neither Fred nor his Cessna 182L light aircraft were ever seen again.
Fred had a nice jawline.
Needless to say, there are a number of theories about what happened to Fred during that fateful night. Of course, I'll start by stating the obvious. Some people are convinced that he encountered a UFO, which either took down his plane or abducted it. They cite the strangeness of Fred's radio messages, the fact that this other aircraft apparently had green lights, that Fred and his aircraft were never found, and that other UFO sightings
I
were
just
reported
state
in
the
Melbourne
fact that he
very
said it
night he
wasn't an
vanished.
aircraft. He said
That
it
being said,
himself.
more
so-
skeptical minds have proposed a few other theories. Some believe that Fred, having gained a reputation as a bit of a careless pilot, was the maker of his own undoing. In the past, he'd received a warning for straying into a controlled zone in Sydney, and had twice got in trouble for intentionally flying into clouds.
Seriously?
As such, they say that Fred must have accidentally been flying upside down without realizing it. Something
Really?
that's far more common than you'd imagine.
What?
The
No.
aircraft and lights he was seeing could have easily been his own, reflecting off the water's surface below him.
Okay, whatever.
After a while, they say that he simply collided with the ocean and met with a watery end.
Yeah, sure. Okay.
As compelling as that theory sounds, others have countered by pointing out that his model of plane had a gravity-fed engine, and flying upside down would have resulted in immediate engine failure.
Agreed.
He wouldn't have been able to contact air traffic control at all.
Yep.
Others think that Fred had planned his whole disappearance from the start, and that he's still alive and well somewhere.
Seriously doubt it.
The guy was a known UFO enthusiast, and, according to his own father,
Oh,
the young pilot
enthusiast?
constantly worried that aliens were going to attack the Earth. Certainly sounds like the type of guy who'd get a kick out of setting up an elaborate hoax.
Maybe.
Backing up that theory is the fact that a light aircraft mysteriously landed not far from Cape Otway, just around the same time that Fred went missing. Could the young pilot have staged the whole incident?
Maybe.
Finally, pilot James McGaha and author
I like
Joe
that
Nickel
idea
have
better.
suggested that Fred was the victim of his own inexperience, and that he sent himself into a so-called graveyard spiral after misreading the horizon. Since human senses are adapted for land, it's extremely risky to fly an aircraft without computer-navigated systems. Our brains create a lot of misleading sensory illusions due to being unable to accurately interpret and reflect the movement of the plane. Simply put, they say his senses lied to him and convinced him to fly in a downward spiral.
Nah, I'm good. I don't believe
Ultimately, we just don't know what happened to Fred and his airplane back in 1978. Was it aliens? Well, that's the most fun answer of the bunch, sure.
Yeah.
Though, as you just heard, there are several far more grounded explanations. Though, since neither Frederick nor his plane's wreckage have ever been recovered, his case is likely to remain one that's cited by other UFO enthusiasts for the foreseeable future.
Probably.
Whatever did happen to him, I'm sure that's what he would have wanted.
Again, with all the ads, man, there's so many ads.
Choose your best champions and put them to the test.
I mean, if I could put ads in my video, I would.
Just a quick little one to end things. I'm not sure how many of you are familiar with it, but it fits nicely into this video.
What,
the
the
WOW
movie?
signal is the name given to the most convincing piece of evidence we have for intelligent alien life.
Really?
On August 15th, 1977, at 10:16 p.m., Ohio State University's Big Ear radio telescope
Why is it
picked up a
Ohio?
narrowband radio signal. What made this signal so strange and unexpected was that it came from the direction of the Sagittarius star constellation and had all the characteristics of being extraterrestrial in origin. The signal got its name after Jerry Emmon, the scientist who discovered the radio anomaly, circled his finding on the computer printout and wrote WOW next to it. Since the WOW event occurred, multiple leading scientists have tried to come up with explanations for the signal's existence.
Really? And nobody can?
None of them have been widely accepted in the scientific community.
Oh, shoot!
Jerry Emmon himself said that it may have been made after a signal from Earth bounced off a piece of floating space debris and was reflected back towards Big Ear. That was later concluded to be very unlikely.
Okay.
All other attempts to refute the evidence that the signal came from somewhere else other than Earth have fallen flat.
Go Ohio, man.
Needless to say, there have been many attempts by other astrological institutions with more advanced radio telescopes to find and identify the signal, but the WOW signal has never been observed since.
Oh my
Nor
god.
have any other signals like it. Since then, the WOW signal has been referenced in numerous songs, commercials, games, and TV shows.
Really?
Including, as the title of this video suggests, The X-Files. Its origin remains a complete mystery, and given how much research has gone into it over the years, it's easily the strongest candidate for an alien radio transmission
That's
that's ever
cool.
been detected.
Go Ohio, man. Like,
Maybe we're not alone after all.
out of all the states, out of all the alien, states, like people who get abducted, Ohio's the one that actually discovered aliens, like the most probable thing for aliens. That's funny. We are boring as can be, eh? But we were the ones that supposedly found the most likely radio signal that has to do with aliens. That's funny. You would think it would be like Nevada or something, or like it would be like Area 51. No, it's Ohio, where corn is grown, and that's about it. Yeah. Anyways, guys, as always, stay strong, everyone. Stay safe. Wear your seatbelt, wear your helmet, wear your mask. Don't put the flashlight behind you. Don't look behind your mirrors. As always, have a nice day.